All right, third time's the charm here. This is my third attempt on interruptions and stuff. So I'm gonna get started on our video. It's day 3. We're solving equations by substituting and graphing. You'll notice on our sheet, it's the same equation twice. They're the same equations twice, and we're gonna graph them as well. So we're gonna solve it by substitution and then graphing. So substitution means taking something out and then putting something else in, right? And so in our case, in this first one, we are substituting in, we're gonna end up substituting 4 in for y in the second equation. So we have y equals 4 for our first one, and we have 2x plus 3y equals 6 for our second one. So I'm gonna rewrite that second equation, but I'm gonna leave out the y. And why am I leaving out the y? Because we're going to replace that y with 4. Because y equals 4, so that means we can just substitute 4 right in for y. So we're going to write in 4 here. Okay. Well, now we only have one variable to deal with, so we can solve for that variable. So we're going to simplify here. 2x plus 12 equals 6. And that's a two-step equation now, so subtract 12, and we have a 0 there. And we have 2x equals negative 6, divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals negative 3. So fantastic. We have the first number in our ordered pair. And we have negative 3 and for x. And we already know that y is 4 because we said y is 4 up here. But what we should be able to do is substitute negative 3 back in for x and come out with 4, because that won't always work that way where we know that our answer is 4. But we do, because it says it up here, it says y equals 4. But a lot of times you have to substitute the x back in as well. So I'm taking x equals negative 3 and I'm replacing the x with negative 3. And now, because I'm replacing x, I'm going to leave y there. Okay? And so this should be negative 6 plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And that's 0, and I'm left with 3y equals 12. Divide by 3, divide by 3, y equals 4. So there's our y equals 4, which is the same y equals 4 that we got up here. So x equals negative 3, and y equals 4. Okay, so that's the first way of doing it. We can do another one here. And instead of substitution this time, we're going to graph each one. I don't really care how you graph each one, but as far as like solving for y or not, I'm going to solve for y because that's kind of how we taught you in class a little bit. So I want to make sure I'm consistent with that. So y equals 4. Well, you're going to go and you're going to find y equals 4. And if it's just a y equals, then it's going to be a straight line going all the way across. Okay. Everywhere along this line, y equals 4. Okay. Okay, and the second one, we're going to solve for y. So we're going to take subtract 2x, and this is just good practice because you're going to have to do it on the backside anyway. Okay, so y equals negative 2x plus 6. Make sure you don't combine these together to be 4x. They're not like terms. Don't put them together. And then divide everything by 3. Okay, y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 2. So now we have our starting point of positive 2 right here. And then we're going to go down 3, or down 2, and then over 3. Down 2, over 3. And we can also go up 2 and over 3. Okay, so I'm going to draw my straight line there. Put my arrows on the end of everything, and then identify the point that is that of the line where they cross. Well, we have negative 3 on the x-axis, positive 4 on the y-axis, so our solution is negative 3, positive 4. And it is, luckily, the same answer as we got on our first one when we did the problem using substitution, which means we did it right. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try a couple more. I'm going to work through these a little bit quicker and not explain as I go as much because we did it on the first one. But I want to give you a chance to experience some more of these. Okay, I may even break it into a couple videos after the second one. So I've got my x is -3, okay? X equals -3. So this time I'm going to substitute it in for x. So I'm going to create a spot for x. So I'm going to substitute in for x, -3. And then I've got my y left now. So I can solve for y because I've only got one variable. So -12 minus 3y equals -6. We're going to add 12 to both sides. And so we got -3y equals 6. -6 plus 12 is +6. Okay. And divide by -3, y equals -2. Okay, so we have our ordered pair there. We already know that x is -3. And so we can write our ordered pair. Okay, so sometimes you'll have to substitute the y back into one of the equations. But in this case, since we start off knowing what x is, we don't have to do that. Okay, we're going to come over to our problem. We're going to graph our problem. I'm going to go find x is -3. So I'm going to count over on the x-axis to -3. And if y on our first one was going side to side, it was going horizontally, x is going to be going vertically because it's x equals -3. So we're going to draw our line going up and down. Okay. And then I'm going to solve this one for y again. So subtract 4x. Subtract 4x, that's -3y equals -4x minus 6. And again, make sure you're not making that common mistake where -6 and -4x is not -10x. It's not -10. They're not like terms, so they just get written right next to each other. You divide by -3, divide everything by -3. There's your 1. Y equals 4/3 x plus 2. So everything changed to a positive down here because a negative divided by a negative is positive. A negative divided by a negative is positive. Now we have our equation in the correct form that we can graph it pretty easily. So we start off at +2 on the y-axis. So that's your 2. You count up to 1, 2. And then we're going to go the slope. Don't go to 4, 3. Don't go over 4, 3. You need to go from this point, count up 4 spaces. So my rise is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to run 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's my next point. I can also go -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go -3 because a negative divided by a negative is positive. And then I'm going to draw my line. Okay. And we identify the point, -3 on the x, -2 on the y. So -3, -2, which is of course the same answer that we got over here. -3, -2. Okay, I'm going to make another video showing the second part as a part 2. So take a look at that once you get to the next steps. Okay, so here you go.